Welcome to the Unconventional Ministry Podcast, where the conversation is about fresh ministry ideas and innovative approaches. I'm Dennis Wiens, your host, Vice President for Ministry Partnerships at Sat7 USA. Most people have a camp story from attending Bible camp when they were young. My guest today is Brynden Wiens, the administrator of Echo Ranch Bible Camp in Juneau, Alaska. So, Brynden, welcome to the Unconventional Ministry Podcast.
Thank you, Dad. It's an honor to be on as your guest.
It's an honor and a privilege to have my daughter, Brynden. Brynden, you were born and raised in West Africa, and now you work in Alaska. You've gone from a place that has a couple inches of rain a year to a place that has sometimes 200 inches of snow. How has the adjustment from Africa to Alaska been?
Let me tell you, it was a shock. Not only the coldness, but also the lack of sunlight. Having grown up close to the equator, it was a huge difference to now be in a state that has limited sunshine.
Very good. You've been up there 14 years, so you've played a role in most aspects of that camp, right?
Yeah, I started out as a counselor, did that for a couple years, or a camp counselor, and then now am the administrator.
Most people, when they hear of Juneau, Alaska, they think about their cruise experience through the Inside Passage of Southeast Alaska. They cruise right past your Echo Ranch Bible Camp without knowing it. What is Echo Ranch Bible Camp?
Hey, that's a great question, Dad. So Echo Ranch is a summer camp for kids that are 7 to 18 years old. We do that June, July, and August. And then we also have retreat groups that join us. So retreats are family camps, there's school groups that join us, and then there's community groups, and then obviously churches that come out.
So what would you say would be unique? Because a lot of people have gone to camp. What would you say would be unique about Echo Ranch Bible Camp?
A very interesting thing is that most of our kids are from Southeast Alaska. And if you've ever been to Southeast Alaska, you know that the only way to get to some of these communities are to fly or to ferry into them. And so a lot of our kids arrive at camp from a boat or a plane.
You know, most people that have gone to camp haven't thought about flying to camp. Their parents drive them, or the church gets a bus and they bus them down to camp. But what's unique is your kids fly in from all over Southeast Alaska. What are some of the towns? I know Juneau, I know Haines.
We get kids from Ketchikan, from Sitka, Petersburg, Yakutat, even some from Anchorage, although we don't recruit kids from up north in Anchorage just because there's other camps up there that we'd love for them to go to.
If you're listening to this podcast and you've been to Alaska, give us some memories in the notes and the comments, and then also forward to somebody else that's been to Alaska or has interest in Alaska to learn something about this unique and innovative ministry approach of Echo Ranch Bible Camp. I'm on their mailing list, and recently got an email, and the email talked about the need that your camp has for hay. Now, what is the need of a Bible camp in Alaska? Why do they need hay?
So at Echo Ranch Bible Camp, we have 19 horses, and horses are very unique in our area because there are not many places with horses. We have 2 stables in Juneau, but they are for private-owned horses, so just the average kid doesn't get an opportunity to be around a horse. So we get a lot of kids who've never been around a horse, aren't really sure. I mean, obviously they've seen pictures of horses, but they've never had an interaction with a horse. And so camp provides them a trail ride or kiddie ride, depending on the age. And it's cool how the novelty of a horse can allow you to go deeper in conversation.
Very good. And I know you're about 30 miles out of Juneau to the end of the road. And then you have about 300 acres that belongs to the camp, and this is 300 acres of pristine Alaskan forest, as well as pasture land where the horses graze. Also have a lot of beachfront, maybe not swimming beaches, but waterfront property. So it's pretty unique.
Yeah, so back in 1964, Alan and Catherine McMurtry donated the 300 acres to Avant Ministries and requested that it either stay a camp or a Bible school for kids. And so we have this gorgeous location right on the water. It's just breathtaking with the cove there and then the Chilkat Mountains. And
what does a bale of hay cost you in Alaska? I know here in the Midwest, in Oklahoma, somebody's telling me a bale of hay delivered and put into their barn is about $9. What does it cost you in Alaska?
Because of our location in Juneau, having to barge hay into town, between that and the actual cost of hay, one bale is $25. So it adds up when you have 19 horses and you feed them.
So how many bales of hay do you need a day at camp?
I believe it's eight 50-pound bales we feed our horses each day.
So you need almost $1,000 a week?
A week, correct.
To feed the horses, but they play a critical and vital role in the camping season, and so it's strategic for them to have hay. And your hay doesn't all come from Alaska, right?
Right. Our hay comes from the lower 48. I believe it's somewhere in Washington area. And then we also, depending on if we have a good sunny summer, we can also make some hay. But most of it is barged in.
Now, you have kids and campers coming from all the towns in Southeast Alaska. How are you partnering with churches?
Our local churches send kids, obviously, to Echo Ranch. And then we have supporting churches. All of our staff are not paid. And so we fundraise, and those churches partner with us. We have churches that send work teams. Almost every other week, we have a work team that comes from the lower 48 states, and they join us for a week at a time with building projects. And then we have summer staff that come from churches around the United States and actually globally as well.
And you have counselors that come from all over the United States, from the lower 48. They don't just come from Alaska. They come from many states. So you're always looking for counselors for the summer, right?
We are. We're always looking for college-age kids, young adults who are passionate about their relationship with God and want to share that hope with youth of Southeast Alaska.
So if your church is looking for a place where some of your young people, college and high school age, are looking for a summer ministry opportunity, be sure to get on Echo Ranch Bible Camp website, and we'll give you that contact information here in a little bit, and encourage your young people to consider and pray about being counselors at Echo Ranch Camp. If they have to buy an airline ticket and then pay for camp for a week and then fly back home, that becomes quite costly. Do you at camp provide any resources to help families that might want to send their kids to camp?
We do. Echo Ranch is very passionate about giving the opportunity to all kids, and so we have a scholarship fund. And for our little 7 to 9-year-olds, it costs about $190 to spend a Monday through a Thursday at camp, and it's an overnight camp. And then our oldest, our senior high, I believe it's just over $300 for a Monday through a Saturday morning.
So how many counselors does it take to run camp? Starts in the spring and goes through the fall. So how many counselors does it take to run camp?
Well, we put 2 counselors in every cabin, and we have, I believe, 12 cabins. And so depending on how many counselors we have determines how many campers we can take each week.
So how can people learn more about what you're doing, watch some videos of camp last summer? They can get on your website. I'm sure you have Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, some of those social media platforms.
Yeah, we host our weekly camp video on our YouTube channel, so you could check that out. We also have a website, echoranch.org. To learn more, visit there.
You can get on their website. It is echoranch.org. That's ECHORANCH.org. And from there, you can go to some of their social media, learn about why they need hay, maybe help buy a bale of hay for the camp, as well as give to the scholarship fund that provides resources and assistance to campers from all over the different towns of Southeast Alaska to have a great summer camp experience. So, Brynden, thanks for joining me on the Unconventional Ministry podcast.
Thank you, Dad. This has been a great honor. Thank you.
In our changing world, there are more ways than ever to do ministry. Sat7 as a broadcast media ministry is changing how ministry is done. Through innovative approaches, collaborative efforts, broadcast satellite television, web streaming, and social media, Sat7 is making a difference. Visit Sat7 online today at sat7usa.org to learn ways you can be a part of this kingdom work. If you've enjoyed this conversation, please share it with your friends. If you know of an unconventional ministry approach, please introduce us. We'd like to have them on as guests. Thank you again for joining this episode of the Unconventional Ministry Podcast.